Hey everybody, it's your Pope pal SimplySuperDave coming at you this fantastic Friday. The first Friday of March. That's right, it's March 2023. And we're rolling right through this year like the other years didn't even exist, right? Like I said, life is one continuous moment. You're always living in the moment. The past is just in your head as much as the future is. You always take advantage of the moment you're living in. And don't forget, it's all up to you whether you're putting out a positive vibe or a negative vibe out there in the world. We covered that in our last episode, and I had a little bit of more of elaborated thought on the positive vibe thing. If you notice, though, when we talked about magnets, if you put a positive side to a positive side, they won't touch. They won't allow each other to ever touch. But negative is strongly attracted to positive. So it made me start thinking a little bit. You know how you see, and this is true for all things. You can think about it in terms of sports, life, or whatever, and it seems pretty relevant, is that positive people tend not to get along with other positive people. It's like having two superstars on the same team. There's just not enough room sometimes. And if it does work with two superstars on the same team, usually that means they both have to have some type of humbleness to allow the other one to step forward from time to time, almost like taking turns. It does happen. It's very rare, but it does happen. Now, if you think about this philosophy in life, then you have to understand why positive people, like, say, for instance, you have streaming, for example. There's a good one. You got 3 streamers. They all converge together on one, program together. It's going to have to take turns to let each one have that spotlight moment. And it's different when you have a streamer with supporters, whether it be other people that play or just people in the chat. Either way, they're there for the streamer, and the streamer is the all talking, everything goes their way kind of thing. That's how it works. Okay, so if you have multiple streamers in there, they have to stop and let the other one talk, and then let the other one talk, and it's a trade-off. But it also makes sense in the real world how people going through bad things, people on a negative note, are attracted to positive people. And it also makes sense in the idea that it's a responsibility for positive people to be there for negative people. It's almost like a job somewhat, where you're out there in the world being positive, you're pushing all that out there, you're making your life the best that it is, then negativity will be attracted to you. Not so much as because it's trying to bring you down, but they want a little bit of what you got. They want to learn why you're so positive. What's got you going in such a great mood? And that is the role of positive people in this world today, is to help pick up everybody else that is on a negative bend. So when you go out there with that positivity and stuff, don't be surprised if the negativity gets pulled to you. It's getting pulled to you because it needs to be turned into positive. It needs some inspiration. And that's why I always talk about, regardless of what's going on in your life, your attitude towards it is what dictates what happens next. If something bad has happened in your life and you take the whole negative approach about it, it's probably not going to get better, and not by any means quicker than what it already has. So if you put a positive turn to something that's even negative in your life, more than likely you have a better shot of pulling out of it. And not only that, but the reactions and the vibes you get back in return are a little bit better than the negative ones that you're putting out there. I do believe you get a lot of what you give, but like we just talked about, positive isn't really drawn to positive. Positive is drawn to negative, like negative is drawn to positive. Two negatives kind of push each other away as well. You get two people complaining about their lives in the same room, it becomes a competition of whose life is worse. Or, oh, I've been through this. Well, I've been through that. Whoa, oh, yeah, well, I understand that, and I've been through this. Yes, it's like, can I top my life is worse than your life kind of thing. And you get those people, they can't ever, and the bad part is, and same thing with positive people when they get together, is that they don't they butt heads. They push away from each other. In other words, they're complaining about their bad lives, or they're talking about how great their lives are. And instead of having someone hearing that and having a conversation, you're getting back tit for tat. In other words, you did this, well, I did this. Your day's that bad, my day's worse. Your day's great, mine's better. It never ends with people. So you gotta realize, based on that philosophy as well, that you can't have a room full of people that all agree and feel the same exact way about anything. They all feel strong and positive because they know that they're not alone, but they're not doing anything to progress whatever it is that they're feeling great about. They got to get out and make things happen. That means the positive's got to go into the negative and start spreading those positive vibes. And next thing you know, it's like an infection, a good pandemic, one that makes people feel better about their lives and feel like there's hope because there's inspiration surrounded around them. And they're not millionaires. They're average people, showing them the way instead of having someone that's never lived a life like theirs and has no understanding of it, trying to tell them what to do. And that brings me to my next philosophy of, why is our leadership treated like royalty? Why are they making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, literally? I think the basic income for a congressman is somewhere around $176,000 a year. Why don't we try letting them live off basic wages, considering that their only job is to make sense of the stuff that we need and want in our society? They're not out there working hard on a rooftop. They're not engineering, fixing internet problems, or going around, actually doing customer service. All they do is money raise for their parties so they can keep pushing agendas that really are disconnected from the society in which they serve. And you know what, we're not going to get into that, but just a little something to think about there. How can we constantly keep trying to be a better people in society when our leadership keeps us contained with so many negative resolutions that only hurt our society more than helps it? It's pretty crazy how things have all gotten flipped around, and how people within our own country are the reasons why it's happening. A lot of people, and I know a lot of people are saying, well, the best thing to do is to just don't get involved. No, not getting involved is the worst thing that you can possibly do in this country. Sitting back and letting the politicians figure out is the worst thing that you can possibly do in this country. Folks, the people I'm trying to reach out to the most are the ones that are quiet, the ones that aren't saying anything, aren't doing anything. This is the time to step up. This isn't a time to sit back and let leadership figure things out. Leadership has proved to us time and time again that they do not and cannot do the job by themselves. And it takes the whole nation. It takes the whole people, the majority at least, to be on the same page for things to move forward in this country. So what am I trying to get everybody to do? I'm trying to get you to speak up. I'm trying to get you to express yourself, whether in letters, videos, posts, whatever it takes to get the narrative running that we're together in this, that we're not separated by the color of our skin or our gender or any other differences that we are allowed to freely express in this country. That's the part that cracks me up, is that they tell you you're allowed to express who you are and be who you are, but yet turn around and tell you, no, you can't say that because it's offensive. Well, it's either one of the two things. The offensiveness in taking criticism or responsibilities for whatever you say or do is one thing on its own. In other words, how can you be sorry for something if you didn't say nothing that you were sorry for saying? In other words, I believe that you should be allowed to make mistakes and correct them. I think that you should be able to openly speak about things that are on your mind and not hold things back. We didn't get here because people held things back. We got here because people created and explored, and they had conversations. They figured things out. That seems to be the narrative that we have lost in this country. If anything from this podcast, I want you to feel like after you listen to this that you should have no fear in your life, that if you feel like you're strongly against something or strongly for something, then maybe you should speak up on it. If you think things are going in the wrong direction, hey, say something about it. Get that narrative going. More people see videos or post about things that they would honestly say themselves. They might not be so afraid to actually speak those words and get that out there. And the next thing you know, we might find out that the people that are so different among each other are actually on the same page. They just want to go home and live differently. And, I think there needs to be a line drawn on, what people think they're allowed to do to push their narrative on others. You can speak it, you can express it any way you want. But once you infringe on anybody else's life, or if you come into their lives with it, then you, regardless of what you're preaching, no matter how righteous it is, you're the bad guy. Okay? I don't care what your message is. I'm preaching the message of Jesus, but you're hurting people by doing it. Then you're wrong. And Jesus will come down and slap you in the face himself and tell you, quit saying my name. I'm telling you, folks, life is pretty crazy, and it's all about the perspective that you look at it. A lot of people's perspective is not their own perspective, which is why I keep bringing up the whole energy thing, that you're not your body. You're not even your damn name. You really aren't. A name was given to you. You didn't pick it out. You didn't get to pick out the vehicle you're walking around in today, and I'm talking about your body. No, these are things that are given to you. But who are you? Who are you? What vibe are you putting out? What are you doing to self-discover who you are and how you feel based on things that are happening in this life of yours, in this moment, right now? I don't care who you were 20 years ago, and I don't care who you're going to be 20 years from now. I don't care about yesterday, and I don't care about tomorrow. I do care about today, and I care about the moment, and I care about how you people out there feel about yourselves. And more importantly, that I care about how you carry yourselves to make this whole society, this whole world we live in, a better place. Quit listening to all the narratives. Quit listening to main media. I'm not saying stop watching TV, folks. I love TV. I love movies. But there are so many wide selections out there. You think people are being brainwashed is bad today. Imagine 30, 40 years ago where you only had 3 channels. You didn't even have cable TV yet. You didn't have selection and choice. Everybody was brainwashed back in the day. Whether you want to admit it or not, you have been brainwashed. I think the first step from coming out of this fog that we're in and people thinking they're woke is that they need to admit that everything that's wired in your brain has been put there not by you, but by others. You have been brainwashed by the very things that you have been interested in because they know you're interested in it. And they use those avenues to put other ideas in your head that you may have never thought of before. It's much like trying to get kids to be more involved in football, so they put, NFL football on Nickelodeon, to the point where they even have like an ESPN type kids show each week to cap all the highlights and name who's the MVP of the week. Next thing you know, 20 years from now, you're going to have kids that said, yeah, I remember Sunday mornings I get up and I watch football on Nickelodeon. What? What is that? That's crazy. Nickelodeon was never intended to be a sports channel for any purpose whatsoever. That's why they have their own shit, right? But everything's so mixed and mingled together, then why are there only separate channels for separate things? Makes no sense to me, other than the fact that you do have a lot of variety and a lot of choices, and people are not as brainwashed as you think they might be. If ever, any time in human history, people are picking their own brainwashing material. You could be brainwashed in anything you want to be brainwashed in. There's plenty of information, plenty of channels out there, plenty of things to cover any topic that you are remotely even interested in, to the point where 6 hours later, after digging down the rabbit hole, whatever you were interested in, now you're a firm believer in, or you're a complete denialist of it. Regardless of the fact, either way, you're probably not wrong. Like I said, folks, everything is true. I screwed that up. Nothing is true. Nothing is true, and everything is permissible. Depending on what perspective you are looking at things in, either it can be the right answer or the wrong answer. Now flip it on the other side of that very problem, and there's going to be a person that thinks your right answer is the wrong answer and their wrong answer is the right answer. Now, both apply it in their lives and it both works. So what does that tell you? That they were both right and they were both wrong. You can almost apply that to most things in life today. There are basic essentials that are, without a doubt, unquestionable. Do we need to eat? Yes. What do we eat? Now that becomes the question. Do we continue to eat meat and vegetables like the earth has provided to us? Or do we continue to eat the chemical-produced stuff that they make now to replace meat and even vegetables even? Because a lot of people out there think that, tomatoes hadn't changed any. No, that's not true. If there is any natural, original tomato seeds left in the world, which there shouldn't be, even if we didn't fuck with them, because life is full of evolution. Nothing is ever the same as it was tens of millions of years ago. Everything has changed and developed. Even the air quality, everything, fire, you name it, everything's different. How is fire different? Well, what burns? What burnt 20 years ago compared to what burns on an average daily basis today are two totally different things. Sure, it's the same reaction, it's fire, but what is it burning? That is the question. And so this whole world, even the basics, is vastly different than it was millions of years ago. And thanks to our evolving brains that we have, and on top of the vast tool that is known as the internet, which, by the way, catch those last podcasts. It really does make sense when you think about something that can connect the entire world together. That is amazing stuff. But with this wonderful tool, we're able to understand life and look back at our history, and instead of just go with what's written in the history books, figure out what really happened. Because let's face it, the only reason why history does exist is because the winners, the people that made it, wrote the history books. You never get the other perspective. You just get the singular perspective. Well, today's age, you get multiple perspectives on pretty much any topic and subject, to the point that we look back in history and go, well, God, this was so wrong back then. We shouldn't even be supporting this. Everything comes from that bad place in history. I'm sorry, everything. Volkswagens, shoes, purses, clothes, food, the Industrial Revolution. Everything comes from something negative, because life will always continuously get better. If something was invented today, okay, but it was invented by someone who believed that loved Harry Potter, okay, here's a good example, and then 20 years later, Harry Potter is demonized because J.K. Rowling or whatever, and just went to the point where everybody got on that bus, and now everybody that was beloved for loving Harry Potter is now hated for liking Harry Potter. It shouldn't be that way, because you're judging the product based on the person who invented it. Okay, just because a good idea comes from a bad person doesn't make the idea bad. Okay, it's still a good idea. If you don't want to use something logically and smart just because someone evil came up with it, then that makes you the fool. That's like picking up a hammer, and instead of using it to build something, you pick up the hammer and you go, well, I need a hammer, but I'm not going to use this one because so-and-so used it before and I hate him. You still need a hammer. Pick the hammer up, nail the nail onto the board. That doesn't change. Your perspective on it and how you feel about it. Volkswagen is a German car that was invented during World War II, a.k.a. Nazis. But we still love Volkswagen. It's a peace-loving hippie car, right? Herbie goes bananas. Everybody remembers Herbie. So it's crazy. Even the swastika for the Nazis back in the day used to be a good luck symbol in times before the Nazis adopted it and used it as their primary symbol, which changed the meaning of that symbol. But at one point in time, a swastika actually was a good luck charm, was a symbol of good luck. So there you go. Nothing in history is going to stay in place. Everything changes based on our understanding and perception of it. And that's no different with how you look at life. And so when people look at me and say, well, there is a past, there is a future. Well, maybe in your world it is. But right now, all I know is that we're living in one continuous moment. So even though I know people may not get where I'm coming from, or maybe they do, and they just don't want to accept a new way of looking at it, well, that's just those brainwashing things that have been stuck in your head that says, oh, but it goes against everything you've been told so far. Again, things that you've been told so far. These are things I come up with sitting around and thinking. It's not so much as things that I've been told that I should say or believe in. And that's the whole point of the podcast, is that I'm not here to tell you anything. I'm not here to go, well, this is the right way. This is what you need to do. If anything, I'm telling you what you need to do is figure out who you are on your own. Do your own thinking. Figure out your own problems. Come up with things that sound maybe crazy, but makes a lot of sense. Because really, folks, the things that you've been taught sound a lot more crazier than the things that really do happen. It is another Friday, and I hope that I have spilled a little bit of information here from my own brain to help inspire your fire to get started, regardless of what it's burning on. It doesn't have to be burning the same thing as mine does, as long as we got the fire going. And as long as we continue to flame it, it'll get bigger, and then the people that need to pay attention to us will see it. Thank you, Mr. Chicken, for that rooster call. It is a Friday. I am around nature. I love life. I'm not in a sound studio. I'm an average nobody trying to make ends meet, trying to come up with rent for the beginning of the month, just like any other average person in this world is doing. Just trying to get you to all realize that we're stronger together than we are apart. And if we come together and get past all the negative bullshit that they have programmed and brainwashed you with, that you accept that or is in your life, then you can make the steps to eradicate it and change that way of thinking and change our lives and change the way society is moving forward, where it becomes about the importance of us being here and what we're doing, instead of about how successful we are in our individual lives. We're never going to get anywhere as a whole if we keep acting independently. Reach out, talk, speak up, let other people know how you feel about anything, everything, and you'll see that you're not alone in how you feel and think about everything. You're a lot more surrounded by supporters than you are with enemies. I know it seems overwhelming that there's a lot of people out there that are against you. It's not. There's actually very few. So, take a moment today, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it takes. Find your little Zen place and do some thoughts about something that you really care about, or that you have questions about. That little itch like, I don't understand why that is. Figure it out. And once you can't figure it out, then look up the information. But do your own research in your own head. Use that brain of yours that we got while we're here, while our spirit is inhabiting this vehicle. It has this brain. Might as well use it, right? Because one day, your spirit's going to leave your body. And you're not going to have all these fantastic humanly things that we have. You'll be more instinctive, if anything, only instinctive, as energy can be. You'll become a science project. But for now, you're human. You have a heart and soul. You have a brain. You have a mind. You have things that you'll never have again. So you might as well use them. And guess what, folks? It doesn't cost you a single dime. You don't have to put any effort into it. It could be whatever it is you want it to be. Let that energy flow throughout you. Find that positive vibe that you're looking for and spread it among you. Infect others. Become a pandemic that we're proud of. a positive pandemic. All right, folks. Have a great Friday and a great weekend. Don't forget, today we are streaming again on Twitch at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. Took the day off yesterday, kind of had a rough day myself. Like I said, every day is about trying to stay super and staying super. And that's what the podcast is here for. I'm not a know-it-all. I'm not someone got my shit together. No, I'm not. No, that's the reason why I do the podcast, to let everybody else know, hey, guess what? You're not alone. Your life is tough. Mine is too. You're not alone. We're not alone. Nobody is. Don't feel like your problems are something that someone can't possibly understand. Somebody out there does. I promise you. You may be a beautiful and unique snowflake, but you're surrounded by snow, which makes everybody the same. Use love and laughter to conquer that hate and fear, and you'll find out that you won't be a victim anymore. You'll be the conqueror of your own life.